and welcome to the NewsX Sunday Guardian Roundtable. Well, this week, once again, we are going to be focusing on Bihar because the high stakes Bihar elections, when the campaigning is on, the elections are there on the 6th and 11th, and we'll know the results on the 14th. But let's try and find out the mood on the ground and also the impact this will have on the national narrative. Will the BJP finally get its own BJP CM in place, or will it, support Nitish Kumar, or will it NDA be in a position to form the government? What about Tejasvi Yadav? His last minute push, his Har Ghar Ek Sarkari Naukri seems to be, resounding with the voters. Will it counter the BJP's push towards the women? These are some things we're going to be discussing on the show today. Joining me is Yashwant Deshmukh. He is the founder of Sea Voter and a psychologist. Dilip Cherian, political commentator and political and a brand guru. Sandeep Ghosh, he's a columnist and a political analyst. And of course, Rashid Kidwai, he's a senior journalist and a political analyst and an author. Yashwanji, you tell us the mood on the ground. I think it's good to get you first to tell us what your polls are saying and what is the feedback.
So I was just looking at the tracker data, which will be released actually today, this week's tracker, and I mean I can share the stuff with you. Primarily the trackers that we figured out, we had seen the rise of Prashant Kishore as far as traction is concerned as the new alternative, and yes, the traction is still there. He is still attracting a lot of youth, particularly coming from the NDA camp, by the way. So still his numbers are damaging the NDA more than the India Alliance, and he is still trending about 20%. So what that's quite surprising, because I was expecting that by the time we are near the first phase, the bipolarization of the process, his numbers would go down. But at the same time, I do not really see complete conversion of his popularity into votes. And that is what I have been always warning about, because in the first past the post system, it's not really important how popular you are. It's actually how much, Mr. Modi gets a approval rating of more than 60% all the time, but NDA doesn't poll 50% votes, right? And that the same was with Mr. Vajpayee and so on, and everybody. And so the question is how much of his traction can he actually convert into votes? And how much in the first past the post system that vote can convert into seat. So these things are all three different layers. How he performs, what happens to him, that will be an X factor, no doubt about that. But having said that, I also sense that largely the two camps have remained intact in terms of their core voting blocks, largely, in that way. And this will be an election of MY, Priya, but not in terms of Muslim and Yadav, but this will definitely be an election of Mahila and Yuva. And that's the new MY that is going to define female turnout. If it is more than the male turnout, it will be NDA all the way. If it is less than the male turnout, it will be a tough fight with Mahagathbandhan in the lead. That's what I look at it. Yuva definitely are attracted because people generally underestimate the lure of Sarkari Naukri in the Hindi heartland. They do not even imagine what a promise of a Sarkari Naukri means in Eastern UP and Bihar particularly. So yes, Tejasvi Yadav has given that carrot and it has its own traction, but that traction is not coming from the NDA youth. Let me be very clear. The NDA youth traction is more going to Prashant Kishore, not to Tejasvi Yadav. So that's the thing. Unless that swing happens from NDA to India Alliance, I find it difficult to imagine how the anti-incumbency will play out. That's where we stand today.
Okay. Rashid, politically speaking, in terms of the future at stake, Tejasvi Yadav and the BJP.
Yes, so Priya, I think it's for Tejasvi. It is Tejasvi's make or break moment. I think he's being very clever. You look at the India Alliance strategy. There is no one except him. And if you look at all the posters, you see, and the campaign style, so Tejasvi ka run. So it is Tejasvi's resolve to win Bihar. and therefore he's holding rallies. He's first among equals as far as the India alliance is concerned. I think the Congress camp is also understands the what is at stake. So therefore, Rahul Gandhi is consciously being relegated to a third, fourth, fifth spot. So it's not an election about Rahul Gandhi; it's an election about Tejasvi Yadav. Now, what Mr. Yashwant Deshmukh is saying is very interesting. If what he's saying holds true, then I don't see Nitish Kumar coming back. If you talk about the MY alliance, so a lot of Mahila are also Yuva, and there is an aspiration. I understand the way Priya yesterday, Mr. Amit Shah in an interview was talking about Tejasvi Yadav, and he was trying to sort of break that thing that the bubble, so to say, about Tejasvi Yadav promising so many jobs. Priya, I think politicians know that they cannot fulfill promises. They may do something that a family that does not have a government job of let's say 2 generations or so will be entitled. So they'll make some criteria. But if this thing, employment and particularly Sarkari Naukri catches imagination, I think that NDA is in trouble. But NDA's biggest problem is BJP, because the BJP doesn't have leadership. So its whole thing is about Nitish Kumar being a cult figure. What happens if Nitish Kumar, goes, let's say, Naveen Patnaik way? So therefore, I think in a strategic sense, the India alliance is much better place. I wish Prashant Kishore luck, but what I'm saying is whether he will become Arvind Kejriwal of Bihar or not, I think that remains to be seen. So the momentum at present seems to be with Tejasvi Yadav.
Will Prashant Kishore become Arvind Kejriwal of Bihar? Is he, where he's creating the headlines as Arvind Kejriwal did, but can he translate it on the ground? He didn't even have enough candidates. He's not fighting himself. What kind of message has that sent?
Is he Priya, is he the Manchurian candidate, or is he the Arvind Kejriwal candidate? We can't be sure yet. As Yashwant said, the votes that he's gathering at the moment seem to be NDA votes. And the rhetoric he's spewing seems designed to also get the NDA vote. So he's very clear that is the vote bank that he is attacking. From an imagery point of view, he holds out for Bihar's youth, which is Tejasvi's target, the same kind of hope for change. So will the youth vote also get diverted? Because the image platform on which Prashant Kishore is fighting is not detail about job programs or anything. He is saying, look, what you have had embedded in Bihar for far too long is a system which is not been serving you. So you, the young, need to look for the alternative. And in a sense, for the NDA, it is advantageous that the votes don't go to Tejasvi after 10 years of rule by the NDA and go to Prashant, because Prashant may not go first past the post. And so they will be closer to the post or past the post thanks to what he ensures Tejasvi does not get. So that's the game that's going on that I can see. And I think that the ground reports that I hear from people who've been there and who've close to different districts is that, contrary to earlier surveys, it seems that Prashant Kishore's popularity in several districts seems to be rising. And that is something that Yashwant has also spotted. And therefore, that's the thing to watch over the next couple of days. And then we will see whether it becomes a NDA versus India fight.
Okay. Sandeep, for input, on ground also, because, through your various people, what have you been hearing anecdotally?
See, there are two parts to it. I think I agree with Dilip's assessment and so also Rashid's, but I'll take a cue from what Yashwant is saying. A lot depends on the conversion. Prashant Kishore, first of all, the hype and noise, I think a lot of it is also media-led. All your friends from Delhi, one person they definitely go and interview is Prashant Kishore. He gives, he's a good subject.
TV.
He gives TV, he speaks. All of us, if you were to ask me to listen to three of the other leaders, I would like to listen to Prashant Kishore, because at the end of the day, he does speak a fair amount of logic and sense. But where I would give him, I think, my sense, what you're, again, to complete what you asked me, I don't. The sense I get is the hype we are seeing on media is not really translated into that kind of excitement on the ground, especially again as it's come through. Certainly, the Yadav vote bank, irrespective of what you say, they don't get swayed by Prashant Kishore. But where I think Prashant Kishore could be a dark horse or an X factor is all of us know he's very good at the analytics and the micromanagement in terms of, and what we heard also, Priya, the other day offline, that IPAC has been working on the ground for a very, very long time in a micromanaged way. So he may be able to convert a lot of votes, may not be into seats still, but he will serve the purpose which Dilip is saying, that the anti-NDA, anti-incumbency vote, instead of passing on to Tejasvi Yadav, it'll come to, part of it will come to him. And BJP will also counter some of the Tejasvi things with their own that analytics game and micromanagement, booth management, SIR, and whatever has happened, they would try to do. So overall, if you get a sort of a sense from body language, though logic dictates, India Alliance has got ahead, but when it comes to the micromanagement, at the last time we discussed on your show, now it is translated into booth by seat contest. It's no longer macro things. So in a seat by seat, when it comes booth by booth, seat by seat, there BJP may score in its management. And last point, what we discussed the other day, Priya, you see, BJP has been also pretty conservative. They have not really fought to get too many seats. They have allowed Nitish to hold seats, and they've also given a fair number of seats to Paswan's son. And that they have given not because of Paswan's son's intrinsic ability, but they will probably again use him or help him to convert a lot of their anti-incumbency vote. So I think that's the game BJP is playing, because BJP knows there's anti-incumbency. They know Nitish's popularity has waned and faded significantly. It has dipped. So they have to address that. I think they're very alive to the challenges, and that's how they're trying to manage it.
Okay, I'm going to take a break and come back after the break and continue the conversation. In fact, I'm going to be asking Yashwant Deshmukh, is this the election of Gen Next? We have Chirag Paswan, Tejasvi Yadav, Prashant Kishore coming up. BJP may want to field Samrat Chaudhary, someone. So the Gen Next really is coming up. The era of Lalu Nitish is going to really be waning after this election. So after a quick break, I'm going to ask him if he agrees with me. Stay with us. Hello and welcome back to the NewsX Sunday Guardian Roundtable. We're taking a look at the elections in Bihar, the impact they'll have on the national narrative, and Yashwantji, apart from anything else, the impact they will have on the Gen Next. And I also want you to focus a bit more on Prashant Kishore, because he really seemed, is he the X factor? I mean, are we overestimating him?
Well, it's interesting to observe one thing. When I was dissecting the people who said that they want to see Prashant Kishore as the chief minister, yes, his major support comes from the Gen Next, the first-time voters or young voters below the 25 years of age, if I may say. But the second biggest chunk for him came from 55 years or 60 years plus kind of age. So there is no middle of the ground. It's like one who has not seen anything, one who has seen everything. Those kind of blocks in terms of Dilip, it might be very interesting for you as a brand guru to throw light on. But whatever I could understand, and also I tried to understand those who said Prashant Kishore as the CM, but their voting intent was mismatching. I realized that there was less mismatch in the Gen Next. That means they said, we want him and we'll vote for him. But there was a huge mismatch among the elders. They said, we want him, but we will not vote for him because he cannot win. So, it's a very classical, I won't even say contradiction. It's just the prudency or the way people think and the way people look at it. So how much he can actually, in terms of vote seats, can he become king? Can he become a kingmaker? It's impossible. Honestly, statistically, it is impossible to say that, and it's an honest admission, because in stats we need a baseline to do a projection on, and a new party doesn't have an election baseline. That's why we cannot do any projection for any new entrant, barring a ballpark idea of in which range they can actually get votes on. There can be no seats projection as such. Having said that, what it seems like, I mean, if I'm looking at his trajectory, I don't know if he can be a king or kingmaker in this round. But what I can say is that if he continues in Bihar and continues his campaign, 2030 is something which you will have to see him as a. There's no other way if he cannot become, because I can sense the kind of demographics which came in second half of 2013 for Aam Aadmi Party traction. The youth, the NRIs. From the NRIs perspective, I mean, that's an anecdote I can share. I go it's a very nice restaurant over here, small restaurant where serves very good pav bhaji. So I went with a friend, and the chefs were two Biharis. I know them in person. So I just, out of jokingly, I called them, किसको वोट दे रहे, क्या है? कहने सर जा तो नहीं पाएंगे, लेकिन फेसबुक पे लगे हुए हैं हमको. हमने कहा अच्छा किसके लिए लगे हो? इस बार तो जन स्वराज के लिए लगे. And they have a huge labor colony over here, and tens of thousands of them are there. And they said in every evening when we are going back, everybody is like, doing on the phone thingy, and they are campaigning for Prashant Kishore. Now, that was a very weird finding for me, because they cannot go back to vote, but they are trying to do whatever they can for him. I mean, in that way. And then this morning I was talking to my team, and they had a very funny observation saying, सर जहां पे भी जा रहे हैं बीजेपी के घरों में लड़ाई चल रहा है, बूढ़ा जो है, जो उम्र वाला है, वो बीजेपी को वोट दे रहा है, और घर में जो नया बच्चा है वो सब प्रशांत को वोट दे रहा है. So these observations are telling me something, that he has a traction, may or may not be, he might convert that traction in this election. But if I was to advise Prashant Kishore, regardless of what election results come on 16th, I would advise him to continue in Bihar, because he has ignited something which he can reap maybe 5 years down the line very well, very well. He can do that. That's what the data at least suggests to me. I don't know if he can do well in this immediately in this election or not. That is something which I just cannot statistically, it's impossible for me to tell.
वो कहते हैं ना, पहला इलेक्शन हराने के लिए लड़ते हैं, दूसरा हारने के लिए, और तीसरा जीतने के लिए. So maybe he can probably spoil Tejasvi's chances here, and as you said, next election be a serious player. But Dilip, actually, I'd like you to come in on this, on the branding of Prashant Kishore. You've said that that it seems to be he's doing well in terms of branding or something of that sort.
I've watched his branding in recent weeks, and he's clearly also appealing to the lot that Yashwant is talking about, those who have seen everything. So the young is one lot he's wanting to appeal to, but he's now recognized that the young, to the extent that they are malleable, are already with him. So now he's looking for the mature vote. In fact, the chef's vote from his restaurant via Facebook will matter a lot, because unlike many other geographies, no, not unlike, but this specific geography of Bihar, Eastern UP, and all the way up to even Himachal, the dream of government jobs is so fundamental that Prashant recognizes that some of the young will get glitzed by the new Tejasvi promise. So he knows, and he has quickly moved, and his people on the ground must have told him that, look, you have a voter who is the more seasoned voter, who is also amenable to change. The real question at the end of this election will be whether Bihar voted by the traditional caste lines, or whether they voted on age lines, and whether the impossible hope was lure enough for enough people to vote for them. which means the Tejasvi Yadav promise. As you notice in all our discussion, the fact is that except for Sandeep, who has pointed out the tactical joy of giving, young Paswan more seats, the real the real anxiety is that aside from Nitish, the BJP cannot project anyone as the NDA face, and in fact, there are various spokespersons who don't necessarily and who don't usually have very much of insider knowledge have been trying to repeat that it is only Nitish that who we are backing. So that really shows that the BJP has a fear of trying to push someone, not that they have anyone, push someone very hard unless they do it towards the real fag end of the election in a kind of thunderclap kind of announcement. Will that be too late? Will that be possible? Those are the questions. In terms of image making, it's very difficult to do it after the first, which means day after tomorrow. It's just not possible to do that in time for election.
In a week's time, that's true. Rashid, you also interacted with Prashant Kishore and interviewed him and spoken to him. Compare him, Tejasvi Yadav and Chirag Paswan?
Well, I think Prashant is a very, I would say, astute politician. He's also very realistic also. I see if there is a change of government, change of regime in Bihar, then Prashant Kishore would stand to gain. Priya, if there is a status quo, in the sense that Nitish Kumar comes back and, Tejasvi goes down once again, then that will not make much impact for Prashant Kishore. Prashant Kishore needs a story. The story would be that, I'm not being wishful. Story would be that because of him, you see, the NDA didn't come back to power. That would be a very big story. If India Alliance doesn't come back to power, you see, it will be a Nitish Kumar's sort of victory, BJP's victory, and there'll be X amount of factors. So therefore, he needs something dramatic. And Priya, I would not stop. A lot of my friends are saying that Prashant Kishore should, stop in Bihar, and he should, and that's of course has a point. But I think the Bihar outcome would pitch him as a national level leader also. If he gets 10% of votes or so, people are going to look at him with great interest. This time, according to, in my modest view, I think, Bihar is also about communities and caste, and therefore, if you look at the Muslim community, which is about 18% or 20% of votes in Bihar, it has a very little, attraction towards Prashant Kishore. So, if your 20% vote is not with you or not, engaging, then it becomes very difficult and tall order. So therefore, in that scheme of things, I think for Prashant, as Sitaram Kesi used to say, जब तक विध्वंस नहीं होगा तब तक निर्माण नहीं हो सकता. So there has to be some kind of political demolition, and that will build Prashant Kishore.
Well, at whose cost, will he be, whose place will he be taking really, Sandeep? And also, should we talk about the Congress and the BJP, the national players? Are they going to be piggybacking on the regional ambitions, or is there a larger message for them also, BJP and Congress, from these elections?
First, 2 points on Prashant Kishore, quick points. One is what Yashwant was saying. Prashant himself has said in many of his interviews, including to Barkha, मैं या तो फर्श पे या I don't know what is the other word Rashid would say.
अर्श पे या फर्श पे.
So he said,
अर्श पे या फर्श पे.
Yeah, I could be even 10 seats and I'm quite happy, and then I'll stick on for the next one. That's what he has said. And to connect with Rashid's point, all of our friends have said that, Prashant has spent more money than perhaps Congress has spent in the last 3 years. So if people are betting on him, they're obviously not betting on him only for Bihar. They're looking at him further. And the last point, Yashwant's point about this restaurants is quite interesting. And I would think Prashant is exactly capable of really targeting that sort of a thing, that he knows there is an influencer community in the so-called expat or non-resident Biharis, whom he may have, just like he would have done for Modi, trying to get the NRI Indians, he may have been actually trying to do. That's where I said his tactical strengths are very high. Now, coming back to Tejasvi, we have always said that, it's kind of a make or break election for him. If he wins, then I think he is get a totally new lease of life. And he will get it, I think, not just for his youth factor. I think he's still regarded as Lalu's son. And overall, I think in BJP's calculus, they have seen rather than projecting any new face, they are better off combining the equity, albeit lower, means a reduced equity of Nitish and Modi together. And whatever Amit Shah brings in, rather than projecting a new face, that is their best bet with whatever ground level management they are doing. But I think it's still a very evenly poised election, and which should be decided not just by this wave or what we are hearing the top line. A lot of it will happen in terms of the macro detailing.
In the mic. Last, just quickly before we switch off, Yashwant, I want to ask you the message for Congress and BJP on this from this election, for Modi and Rahul specifically.
It's for me question.
For you, last one.
Well, interesting thing is that that's the one thing which my qual teams told me yesterday evening briefing, that somehow this time both camps, they have given tickets, or ticket distribution has happened in a way that the weakest links is contesting against the strongest link on the other side. In other words, Congress, no matter how hard it has pitched, has ended up huge majority of their quota of seat contesting against the BJP and JDU, not against the alliance partners of the NDA. Similarly, all these, starting with Chirag Paswan, Ham and Kushwaha and everybody, they have ended up having seats with overwhelming majority of them contesting directly against the RJD. This never happened last time. There was an kind of a distribution which pitched them on everybody against everybody kind of a thing. But this time, is it by design or it's by default? I don't know why it has happened and how it has happened. But somehow RJD has managed to give overwhelming majority of the strong seats of the JDU versus plus BJP against the alliance partners. I mean, Mukesh Sahni has got almost all the seats against the BJP and the JDU. Congress has got, even though Congress said that they have got this time winnable
Quality seats.
but the fact remains, those quality seats do not have a Chirag Paswan contesting against Congress, or Maji contesting against Congress, or Kushwaha contesting against Congress, and like that. So it's a kind of a very weird finding, and I'm still going to analyze that how it is going to impact anything. One thing which I want to mention, you mentioned 3 young leaders. You did not mention Samrat Chaudhary. I want you to keep an eye on him for a different reason. Samrat belongs to Kushwaha. It's the same community Nitish Kumar belongs. Nitish Kumar's party's main faces are not Kurmi and Koiri. They are Brahmin and Lalan Singh as a Thakur and Bhumiyar. None of his party faces belong to his caste, for which BJP is apparently taking him along so well all these years. BJP has deliberately put Samrat over there as the person who would probably be there for the BJP in a post-Nitish scenario in a very amicably and cordial way to get those Kurmi, Koiri, Kushwaha votes into BJP kitty. So keep an eye on Samrat Chaudhary. He is also, because of the fact I realized that huge majority of Prashant Kishore's allegations and confrontation happened against Samrat. So
correct.
Prashant will not go after somebody just because he wants to go after somebody. There must be some reason that he is looking into Samrat Chaudhary's trajectory, why he is taking him. So keep an eye on him as well, because not many people talk about him, Samrat.
No, good points. Thank you so much. And quickly, if anybody wants to come in for a last one-liner in terms of Rahul and Modi, I just wanted Dilip and Rashid and Sandeep. One short, quick take.
One take I will just quickly give is that between the 4th of November and the 14th of November, 2 major leaders will have significant issues to watch for. 4th in New York, Mamdani's election, and 14th in Bihar, how Modi will watch the change in Bihar if a change does happen.
True.
Nice one. Rashid?
I think Rahul may not be a key player, but a lot at stake. Bihar is a is a referendum. We constitutional terms, we don't have a referendum. But if Mr. Modi NDA wins, then of course it will be a huge setback for opposition. This is the best chance, and in terms of vote share and numbers and all, the opposition is in for a very close contest. So therefore, it would be a huge setback for Rahul Gandhi. And similarly, if Mr. Modi, if India loses, then I think Mr. Modi, that June 4, 2024 would be back in action.
Sandeep, would you agree with Rashid?
I think by and large, I think this will be a setback for Modi and Amit Shah, because they have hyped it up and they seem somewhat, and they understand the importance of this election. And if Indy wins, Rahul is going to encash upon it. If it loses, okay, Rahul would try to wash it off, try to put it on Tejasvi, but I think it will further dilute his equity.
Okay, thank you so much for this, and it's really been a good curtain raiser, and we're going to keep watching the state of Bihar. But thank you for your findings. Thanks a lot.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.